Jennifer Negon, thanks for being with us. Jennifer, we'll start with you and your thoughts on Grassy Narrows First Nation deciding to go the legal route in this decades-long issue of mercury contamination in the river system and its impact on the people there.
I think that this was a long time coming. I think that the fact that this has been going on for as long as it has been is unacceptable. You know, I was reading a little bit more about it this morning, and I think taking both the provincial and the federal governments to court is the right move. You know, time is going on. As far as I know, this has been going on since like the 1960s, and there has been man-made contamination to this river. So at what point is anyone going to take responsibility for this, especially when it has impacted the livelihoods of people living in Grassy Narrows?
Negon, like Jennifer said there, do you feel this is a long overdue lawsuit?
Well, I could just imagine the vindication for Judy De Silva and all those at the occupation camp in Grassy Narrows who fought not just there, but also all the way in Queen's Park in Ontario and have been doing that for decades, literally putting their bodies on the line to fight for clean water in Grassy Narrows. So kudos to them. They should really take the real credit for this. They kept the issue going. And what we're seeing is multiple First Nations across the country. Right here in Manitoba, you see about 10 First Nations that are suing the City of Winnipeg for a sewage spill. When governments, municipal, provincial, federal, act irresponsibly for decades, they've not been held to account, but because now we are considering or including or having to come into harmony with Indigenous rights in law with Bill C-15, we're seeing First Nations stand up for themselves and being able to advocate for themselves. When egregious acts like this happen, governments must be held to account for acting so irresponsibly. And in the end of the day, Canadians, all Canadians, get drinking water, fresh air, food to eat as a result.
Jennifer, the statement of claim reads like a mini history lesson of the issue. There was a lawsuit in 1977 where Grassy Narrows and another First Nation sued the feds, the province, past and previous mill owners. That resulted in a $17 million settlement. But from there, Ontario indemnified any future lawsuits, the companies. Is this an example of government favoring industry over the people?
Potentially, yes. And another issue that I'm seeing out of this is that exactly, you know, there not being much responsibility put back onto the industry. But also, when we don't have much standards to go off of, then who's responsible? You know, if there's a water spill in a municipality in the province of Saskatchewan, for example, we have a security agency that oversees the water. But right now, there's no real standard. So who's responsible? And, you know, I'm going to be really interested to see how this plays out in court, because the fact that the provincial government has done that may make things difficult for the nations that are trying to, you know, hold the government accountable for the failed water crisis across the country, but especially for Grassy Narrows.
Negon, how do you see this playing out? Of course, these haven't been tested in court yet, but like you mentioned, there's the 10 or so First Nations here in Manitoba also, you know, taking certain levels of government to court over these types of issues.
It's the important thing to identify with the Grassy Narrows case is the negotiation back years ago did not indemnify on future and chronic neglect. That's the real challenge here. If you look at the sewage spill here in Manitoba, it's because of the chronic neglect for decades of the piping system of sewage and the fact that the City of Winnipeg has been leaking sewage, even announcing, telling that they openly do that to clean out the pipes for the city. And who pays for that? Well, First Nations way up the river off Lake Winnipeg, the overabundance of algae, even fishermen in Manitoba pay for all of this chronic neglect. And when governments continue to neglect, continue to act irresponsibly, I don't care what law judgment goes decades ago, no court will be able to just simply give people a carte blanche to act irresponsibly for decades to come.
Jennifer Negon, we'll leave it there. Thanks for being with us.
Miigwech.
Thanks.